A stratified model of art history, from cave walls to quantum states. Chapter 1. The Cave Layer, Fixation of the Image. If you want to find the true beginning of art, don't look for the first great painting or the first beautiful sculpture. Look instead for the first moment when a mark, made by a human hand, stayed on a surface long enough to be seen again. That moment happened deep inside caves. Colored earth mixed with water was pressed and blown against limestone walls. Hands were held flat against the rock while pigment was sprayed around them, leaving a silhouette. The animals painted at Lascaux in France and Altamira in Spain were not just early drawings. They were the result of a discovery that would shape all of art history. An image can be fixed to a surface and outlast the person who made it. This is what this chapter calls the first layer, the cave layer, and its key condition is simple: fixation, the ability to make a mark that stays. The wall as a partner, not a background. We tend to think of a wall as a blank surface waiting to be painted on, but cave walls are nothing like that. They bulge and curve and crack. They have natural hollows and ridges. The cave artists didn't fight against this roughness. They worked with it. A bulge in the rock could become the rounded back of a bison. A natural crack could suggest the leg of a horse. The surface was already alive with possibilities. Art didn't create the surface, it found it. This is different from almost everything that came later. When artists began to use stretched canvas, they were creating a smooth, uniform surface they could control completely. But in the cave, the wall was a partner, unpredictable, physical, full of its own character. The cave image was also locked in place. You couldn't move it. To see it, you had to go there, into a specific cave in a specific landscape. The image belonged to its place in a way that no later art does. Light and movement. Here is one of the most surprising things about cave paintings. They were probably never meant to be seen in still, even light. The people who made them carried torches. As they moved through the cave, the light flickered and shifted. The shadows moved. The animals painted on the walls seemed to tremble and breathe. Some researchers believe the slightly different positions of legs and heads on a single animal, what looks like a clumsy mistake to modernize, may have been intentional, designed to create the impression of movement as the light moved. If that's right, then the very first art was also, in a way, animated art. This is a beautiful paradox. The first great technical achievement of image making was fixation, making something stay still. And yet, the experience of those fixed images was dynamic, full of life and movement. This tension between what is fixed and what seems to move will turn up again and again in art history, in cinema, in digital screens, and beyond. The handprint, a different kind of image. Among all the images in prehistoric caves, the handprints stand apart. They were made by pressing a hand flat against the rock and blowing pigment around it, leaving a hollow silhouette, the shape of an absence. These are not portraits. They are not symbols. They are something more immediate than either, a physical record of a body that was once present. Scholars sometimes call this quality indexical, meaning that the image doesn't just represent something, it is a direct physical result of it, like a footprint in mud or the impression left by a seal in wax. The hand is gone, but the mark remains as evidence that it was there. This idea, the image as a trace, as proof of contact, runs through the entire history of art. It reappears most powerfully in photography, where an image is literally created by light bouncing off a real object and striking a surface. But it begins here, in the cave, with a hand pressed against stone. The cave as a special space. The paintings weren't on the outside of the caves, in daylight where anyone could see them. They were deep inside, in the dark, sometimes in chambers that required crawling through narrow passages to reach. To see the images, you had to make a journey. You had to leave ordinary daylight behind and move into a different kind of space, enclosed, quiet, mysterious. Whatever happened there was not public entertainment. It was something more private and perhaps more powerful. This gives us another idea that will echo through art history. Art as a threshold experience. You cross from one kind of space into another. You leave the everyday world behind. Later, this experience will be recreated in churches, in theaters, in cinemas, in galleries, even in the darkened room where you watch a film. The cave established this pattern first. Why this layer never disappears. Here is the central point of this chapter, and one of the central ideas of this whole essay. Fixation, the act of making an image stay on a surface, never goes away. Every layer of art history that comes after the cave still depends on it. Oil paintings fix pigment to canvas. Photographs fix the effect of light onto a chemical surface. Films fix images onto celluloid strips. Digital images fix data into memory chips. Even when we look at an image on a screen, that image is fixed, held in place by electrical states in semiconductor materials. The method has changed almost beyond recognition. The scale has shrunk from a limestone wall to a sliver of silicon, but the basic act is the same. Something holds the image in place so it can be seen again. This is why the cave layer is not simply the oldest layer. It is the foundational layer. Every other layer rests on it. To make an image that lasts beyond the moment of its making is to reach across time. The person who pressed their hand against the cave wall and blew pigment around it was doing something that no human had done before, inscribing the present into a material that would outlast them. That act, simple, physical, direct, is still the basis of everything we call art. From stone wall to digital screen. It might seem like a long leap from a limestone cave to a smartphone screen, but the question at the heart of both is the same. How does an image attach itself to a surface, and what is the nature of that surface? A digital image looks as if it floats in light, as if it has no physical home, but it is stored, fixed, in memory registers, in patterns of electrical charge, in the microscopic architecture of computer chips. The fixation is invisible to us. It happens at a scale far too small to see, but it is still there. To think about the cave layer today is not to romanticize prehistoric art or to suggest that we should paint like our ancestors. It is to ask a real question. What does it mean to fix an image when the surface itself has become invisible? When the support is code and the material is electricity, is the image still fixed, or has it become something altogether different? The cave doesn't answer that question, but it is the place where the question began.